Executive Director of Harvest Hands, Jim Collins here is our special guest,
Yes.
along with the Mayor of
Yes,
St. Thomas, Ontario.
thank you. This is a fun adventure. Jim, we've been really watching what's been happening with Harvest Hands, and I know you couldn't be prouder with the growth.
Yes,
Certainly, I think we'll always say, we wish we didn't need to do it.
that's
But
correct.
We're really happy that there's great people out there doing it. Give us a bit of a background on Harvest Hands.
Certainly. Well, back in 2020, our group, we had always taken care of a few families, but we recognized that there was a greater need, so we simply started to contact growers and retailers and processors, food processors, and our question was simple: do you have any surplus? Do you have any seconds? Do you have something that's approaching the best before date? And to our absolute amazement, they responded with great generosity, and that's really where it all began.
And you talked about the great generosity, but you have a growing generosity. As people know that you will do good things with it, now they're reaching out second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th time to say, hey, do you still need?
Yeah, that's correct. One of the things, in many of you may know this, is that in Canada, 50% of all food produced is either lost or wasted.
Right.
And at the same time, we have 1 in 6 Canadians, that's 17% of the population, experience some measure of food insecurity every single day, which is just a polite way of saying that the mom, dad, and the kids go to bed hungry.
Right.
And so you have, at either ends of the food spectrum, you have 50% waste. At the other end, you have people going without food. And the benefit, the recipient is obvious. They get to eat.
Right.
The benefit to the manufacturer, the retailer, is not as obvious, but it is, nevertheless, it's real. And we always say that, you know, they don't want to develop a product, grow it, package it, and then throw it into the landfill. And so what we've been able to do is basically connect those two entities, and the benefit, there's a great humanitarian benefit for all.
Well, and there's logistic issues in the manufacturing process. That
Yes.
I got everything I need right today, and the guy that was supposed to take this many pallets just can't. What could I do with it? And you're now the
Exactly.
solution to that.
That's right. That's right. Many people will ask me to say, well, you know, why is there so much waste? And, you know, why are manufacturers and everybody so negligent? But it's really not that simple. It's a perishable product. Things like seasonality, trends, bad weather, good weather.
Right.
Like, for example,
bad roads. Right.
bad
Yeah.
roads, yeah.
Yeah.
And even today, like if we have weather like this, if you're growing lettuce or peppers indoors, you could get a lift in production of 10 or 12%. Well, what do you do with that?
Because you haven't all of a sudden come up with a 10% customer base
Exactly.
increase. But
Exactly.
so what can we do and make it better? Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the thought, the thought to connect the dotted lines between the food
Yes.
security piece that we're all
Yeah.
seeing in our municipalities across Canada, and the fact that there is food out there.
Yes,
Right, that
there is.
otherwise would go to a landfill
There is.
or something worse. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember clearly one time I went down and picked up 3 pallets of cucumbers and peppers. When I got there, the lady said to me, she said, I actually have 19 pallets, and our policy is we never say no.
Right.
And so I managed after 3 trips to get it all there, and on the way back, I was really overcome with gratitude because I called her and I said, you know, I can't find words to describe what she said, stop it. She said, we need to be thanking your volunteers and your organization because it would have cost us X number, hundreds of dollars to take this to the landfill.
Right,
So
and for no gain
Exactly.
to our society. And so
precisely.
thank you for being there in the middle of that.
Yeah.
You started off locally, obviously, in a small amount,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've grown to feeding people from all of Southern Ontario, basically, as we talked before we went on air. Growing more still?
continues to grow, and then we are a food distribution center. So
Right.
and we partner. We call it partners because we deliver to food banks, shelters, missions, lunch programs. We don't know what the people's needs are, but they do, and so we deliver it. Right now, we're servicing 145 different locations, and there of those 145, there's 60 in Elgin, Middlesex, St. Thomas, London area, and there's there's really no end to the demand, and the same way that there's no end to the product source.
Well, and I take it you have likely seen in the last short period of time, we're dealing with inflation, certainly in food costs, and the like.
Yes.
Housing costs going up, meaning there's less expendable money in
Yes.
the home too. So your need continues to go up that way too.
Absolutely, yeah, and it isn't just the homeless, it isn't just the
Right.
poor.
No.
It's individuals who they just can't make ends meet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Grayden.
I want to bring it back to the fact that this is a St. Thomas-based organization. Because I've talked
Yes.
to people and they're like, "Oh no, that's based in Mississauga. This is not from St. Thomas. They're not doing this.
Yeah.
They're it's an ancillary outpost for it. But no, this is actually being done in St. Thomas. And let's talk a little bit about
Yes.
the numbers as well, like the people that you're serving and the cost, because this is incredible. When you were at the 100 People Who Care event, you talked
Right.
a
Yes.
little bit about it.
What's very interesting, and anybody in business will be able to appreciate this, that basically our business model is this: we have no cost of goods, and we have no labor costs because we are 100% volunteer. And as a result of that, we're able, $1 of donation that we receive will allow us to provide the equivalent of 3 meals, which is really
Wow, for
extraordinary.
$1. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but there's such a demand that we can barely keep up.
Can we give a shout out to some of the people that are donating, some of the businesses that are donating to your organization?
Yeah, we actually we record every single usable item, and we track it by. We have at the moment, I think we have 78 different companies that provide it to us, and we track it. And I'll tell you that some of them are $10,000 a year, some are 15. We have a couple of them that are in the mid 6 figures of like $500,000 plus that they have supplied us. And what we use is we calculate at the retail value, not the highest, not the lowest, a sort of a median level, but. So we couldn't do any of this without the food donors. We couldn't do any of this without the volunteers. And
I was
yes.
going to ask that one too.
Yeah, we have a special event coming up right here.
Yeah, exactly.
All about volunteers.
Yeah, and the volunteers that we have right now, we have 109 what we call regular volunteers, meaning they come at least once a week. And then we also have another 80, which is like, for example, service clubs, youth groups, the Girl Guides.
For a day or for a period of time.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep.
And really what we've discovered, and I'm so proud of St. Thomas for this, is that the people really take it serious. It's a community.
Yeah.
I remember early on, when we were over where we started in the basement over at Balaclava Street, and 2 ladies showed up, and they said, we'd like to work a couple of hours a week. And those 2 ladies, they work between 25 and 30 hours every single week, 5 days a week. And this is the rest of the story. One of them is 73 and the other one's 79, and they never miss.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we need to say thank you to the volunteers. Certainly,
yeah, absolutely.
We know St. Thomas has that level of volunteerism, and when
Yes.
you offer something as good as what you're doing at Harvest Hands, you will attract the people. And how many then bring their friend the next day?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I had fun.
Yes.
It was good to be there, and
Yeah.
I felt good doing it. And you should see the process. So
Yeah.
so a friend comes the next day.
Yeah.
You're in your current place, you have more space than you had in the basement on Balaclava Street. We know that for sure, right? Are you pushing on the outer edges?
We actually are. Every time, like when we moved into the larger space, we're not having any trouble to fill it. When we built the coolers and the freezers,
Right.
that gave us again increased capacity. At the moment, at Balaclava, we had about 2,500 square feet. Over at the current location, we have about 16,000 square feet, and thanks to the owner of the building, we encroach upon another 4,000 or 5,000.
He doesn't know you're using that space, just temporary.
We use it in the morning
That's
before he
right.
gets there.
Yeah. That's it.
You got a new vegetable washing
Yes.
set up on the
Yeah.
outside?
Yeah, because we get so many, like we get carrots, potatoes, and all kinds of things like that. And sometimes when they come directly from the farmer, they're pretty rough. So we have this system that it dumps it into a bath, it washes it, it rinses it, it dries it, and then we're ready to go. So
Wow.
capacity wise, it's just huge. One of the things that we're really excited about is as I said early on, we have a policy, which, by the way, we received from the St.Thomas Food Bank, to never say no. Right. Thank you.
Yes.
And that is that we never say no, and sometimes we find ourselves with huge quantities of product. And so we have about a half a dozen or maybe 10 places where we can call in Toronto or Kitchener or wherever, and they'll take that. But what we really are focusing on is trying to extend what we can do with what we have. And so we just somebody provided us with the money to produce a commercial production kitchen, so we'll be able to make stews, soups, and ready to go meals
In a health certified condition.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You're talking about tons of stuff. All right. Do you deliver?
Yeah.
Do people come and pick up from you?
Yeah.
Or
Thank you. We have 14 routes. So we have, for example, we have a Sarnia route, a Chatham Kent route, Burlington Oakville. Right. So we do those weekly, but we also have about 30 people from obviously St. Thomas, many from the Food Providers Network. Right. We do from London, Ingersoll, and Woodstock, and they come down basically, and we have large shopping carts, and they basically go shopping. The only restriction we put on it is we say, if you want more than one case of anything, just ask. Right. Because we have a responsibility to share what all that we have. And
well, the Food Providers Network is basically working that day.
Yes.
And so you would see them most days then come and say, here's what we're making tonight, or here's what we're making for tomorrow. Yep. So we're picking it up tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've got a question from the audience from Greg Forbes. He's saying, what about doing a once every 2 weeks outdoor free market, giving the opportunity for those that don't use or can't access the food bank?
Wow. Now that we've got nice outdoor weather, that might not have been great in February, but
right.
You just gave Jim a new idea that watch this now. What a great idea, Greg. Obviously, the food bank is still there, and it has its regular clientele and does get food from you, but it does have a limit. You can go every 3 weeks to the food bank, and so many people are now running out of that from a food security point of view in that period of time. And there's so many other places, right? So, nice idea. There's a front lawn where you are. That's a whole lot more storage. I'm just thinking now that it's summer. No.
I could say the term would be like direct to consumer. Right now, you're going to organizations.
Right.
And that would be the falling point on that. Is that
right.
You're not set up to deal with individuals.
No. But almost all the places you deal with are.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That's the purpose. That's the dotted line between the provider of large pallets worth of product through you to sort it out, to then take it to the places that our food banks and our shelters or wherever else could use it that way.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do you have a trivia question?
I do have a trivia question. So we have a very special trivia question that's based on our guest this food day. And it is, what year was Harvest Hands founded?
So I think Jim said it in part of his conversation,
I think so.
but that will know if people are paying attention to Mayor's update. There's a test tonight, folks. We're gonna see how smart we are here.
Absolutely.
So look, we wanted to share as much as we could about Harvest Hands. So if somebody wants to volunteer or thinks they might want to volunteer, what do they do?
It's really a very simple process. They can contact us at harvesthands.ca. They can phone our 800 number, or they can just simply show up at the warehouse. We have an interesting cross section of volunteers. One of the ladies that worked putting together meals for us, she was pregnant all the time that she was there. She had the baby. She came back with the baby 2 weeks later, and so we've had the youngest of 2 weeks and the oldest of 84 years old.
Wow.
A guy a gentleman from Woodstock came and worked a couple days.
Well, I'll tell you, it's we can tell the great stories about how it happens and how it works and how you've got to where you are today. As I said before, we'd love there not to be the need, but while there is, let's make it as easy as we can.
Exactly.
To make it happen.
That's right. One of the things that's we have received a fair amount of notice, and we've been approached by people as far away as Prince Albert, from Nova Scotia, Montreal. And people come and visit and say, "How can we replicate this model?" So we're working.
People are watching you and saying, "Hey, we can do this too," or it's possible.
Yeah.
You've shown that it is possible.
Yeah.
It may not work exactly the same in areas of great distances.
Right.
We're in a fairly compact area in Southern Ontario, so you can reach a lot more closer,
exactly.
But I get it.
I think what would function is something in about a 250-mile radius, and beyond that, it doesn't work.
Well, we need another one.
Exactly. Precisely.
Or a similar, the branch office.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yes. The helping hands too. No.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have any other questions on there from any of our folks? This is a real pride issue for St. Thomas. As the mayor, I'm very exceptionally proud that this is here and that we're doing this. And I think we talked for one on air that, even just 4 years ago, we weren't really even dealing in the sheltering business from a homelessness point of view. And food security had a different meaning, right? It might have been school lunches or some other pieces, right? These are things that are with us now, and if you want to be a good community, you serve it. And if if you don't serve it, you aren't doing what you can do to help your fellow man and to do the right things. So as a council here, as a mayor, we talk a lot about what's the next most important thing. This council has been fantastic at helping us build and move forward with housing. We knew you were around doing food, and certainly from the Poverty Coalition or the Food Security Network or the other people we have in town, our own food banks and programs like Christmas Care. And
yes,
we do take very good care. If there needs to be more, there'll need to be more. And so you're doing a great job of making sure that the warehouse is full when the need is there.
Yeah.
Now, it might be, what do we say, 6 pallets of lentils, right? But it's that mixed with other great stuff.
Exactly.
Right. So.
Good question then about where the second location of Harvest Hands is.
Actually, this is the only location. Yeah, this is the only location.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we always get. They're like, there's all these locations. Like, no, there's one location.
Yeah.
Right here in St. Thomas on Edward Street.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, this has been fantastic. We're going to keep you on the show for our next little bit in our segment where we talk about
some questions we've had recently and some neat things happening in our community. We're going to talk a bit about Earth Day because that's coming up, and we really want the whole city to be involved as we can. Earth Day is April 22nd, and for years now we've talked that on Earth Day it's kind of the start of The community cleanups, the looking at your community from a special way. When you're out in a walk, take a small bag with you and pick up some litter. But there's a couple good-sized groups doing some very big things on Earth Day this year. The Rail City All City Cleanup is happening, and they're happening out of the Rail City Museum. And for questions on it, you need to, I think, visit them on Facebook and join their group. We're also asking you as yourself, a family. Many families did this last year, and all through the mayor's office. Just simply give the mayor's office an email or a call, and we can get you garbage bags and gloves and all the stuff you need to do neighborhood cleanups, big or small, including some specially marked garbage bags so that when you're done your cleanup, not everybody can take them home and put them out with their trash. There's a bag limit. So let us know where you're putting them at the end of what street so we can make that happen. Earth Day is April 22nd. From a mayor's cleanup point of view, since we've seen this beautiful weather, that's a great start. All the way through June now. Let's look at cleaning up St. Thomas as groups, service clubs, businesses, whatever way we want to look at it, large elements of volunteers.
And we've got Southwold as well, and they're doing a cleanup on April 22nd as well from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Jess, my wife, is on the Zero Waste Committee, so she has to share out all their information. That's at the Southwold Keystone Complex, and I'm sure that other municipalities all around Elgin County.
I'm certain Lily's going to be out at the Keystone Complex throwing stuff so that it has to get picked. Yeah, yes, that's excellent. And the next thing we want to talk about is the city of St. Thomas. As we grow, and certainly with some of the news we've had in the last little while, we're trying to come up with a new strategic plan for our council. And it involves some of the stuff we've already talked about, whether it's housing or food security or rebuilding roads and all of the things you think your city council has a responsibility in. We'd like you to go onto the ST.Thomas.ca website. Right now on the front page there's a little click-on thing on strategic plan survey. We want you to tell us what we should do. We're gathering as many answers to the strategic plan as we can. And certainly some of them may not be municipal answers by the time we're done, but we want you to tell us what St. Thomas looks like in 5 years, what St. Thomas looks like in 10 years. And we've had some pretty good cards dealt our way in the last little while, but we want to make sure that we're able to help do what you'd like your city to do too. A couple of questions that have come in over the last 2 weeks, because we did not do a show last week. I was away, and Grayden, just couldn't do it on his own.
The star power.
Well, there's a lot of questions that have come in from many people on the same question about the land acquisition project we did in Northeast St. Thomas, 1,500 acres, in order to attract a company like Volkswagen to come build the largest automotive facility in Canadian history. Wow. But there's some questions I've had. Somebody said, why didn't we just use the acres on the Highway 4 on Wonderland Road, the old Ford plant? Why didn't we just use that? Well, it's not in St. Thomas, right? I can't tell other municipalities how best to use their industrial land, but the council here in St. Thomas, by our own strategic plan, said let's develop a larger portion of industrial property so that we can attract an employer like VW and have them come here. So that's why it ended up in St. Thomas, because it was a St. Thomas project. Other municipalities will help, and we know that Southwold's done a great job at attracting Amazon to that site, and so we'd love them to carry on doing that. When is the road construction going to start on Highbury to make it 4 lanes? Well, we talked about that last night here at Council, that the portion of Highbury inside the city of St. Thomas has now gone to a public study. It likely will be 4 lanes all the way from South Edgewater, or maybe even a little south of South Edgewater, all the way up to Ron McNeil. That's the area that's in St. Thomas. The Ministry of Transportation for Ontario is helping us look at how we best need to look at expanding roads and making transportation better around the facility. When is house building on farmland surrounding our once small city going to stop? When people quit buying every house, when everybody is housed. Yeah, go ahead.
Really good addition to that. At council, last night.
Oh, accessory
there was
units.
an amendment to the bylaw that was put forward. So let's
Yes.
talk about that, because that's gonna help.
Yes, accessory units. We're asking every house in St. Thomas, and the province is asking all of our cities to look at it this way too, certainly from an affordability. We're looking at every house that is able to become at 3 units. So assume a normal 3-bedroom house. The basement can be an apartment on its own, provided there's the exit, so that's 1 unit. The housing on the main floor where the people normally live is a second, but any other accessory unit like a garage or a granny flat in the backyard can be converted to a third. And we're finding in most municipalities, and even in ours, fairly good uptake so far. Would like it to be a lot greater. The affordability of those types of apartments, of the apartments that are a basement apartment or an accessory apartment, are way cheaper, and the affordability is there. So we can really kill that bird with that stone too. Third thing is, it's giving first-time home buyers a chance to move into a home and start collecting a couple of rents after a small amount of renovations.
Yeah.
And so it allows them to be first-time home buyers. It also allows seniors to stay in their home,
Yeah.
right? So instead of having to move because it becomes too much of an issue, 2 other apartments in the house, helping to pay the rent, helping maybe even do some of the lawn chores and whatever else too. So these are all the things we're trying to do. Is it for everybody? No, and we're not telling you you must go do this to your house. We're asking you, please, if you can, do so, because we'll make some very good affordable housing, affordable apartments in our community. Please, contact our planning department for a pre-consultation about your house. Not all houses can be converted in the way I've described, because there isn't enough parking or something else may need to happen. And yes, there's a cost to doing these renovations, but in some areas of our community, as was mentioned last night at council, there's our community improvement plan. For every unit you create, you get some money to help you do that. So we love it.
Absolutely. All right. Margaret and I saying families can stay together if in one building, and that's correct.
Yes, right.
And then Margaret and I had another question.
Right.
And it's about the train tracks and the train land. I know that she's asked a couple times about CN, the rail yards, and how they're not keeping up the grass, like they're not mowing the grass. And she's
I got a memo from that today from CN.
Really?
Yes, that CN starts about April 1st on the trimming of weeds and the spraying of, I want to say Roundup, but it probably isn't that, but to kill the weeds along railway tracks. And so they've let us know as a municipality that they've started that process for this summer, and it will carry on through October.
Very good. Her question was whether or not the public is allowed on rail property.
No, never has, although any of us, not as our youth, use that cut through and walk on the railway track. You didn't. No, of course, but look, there's a safety issue still, and as we've now attracted a very large industry, we're adding rail to that industry. The rail in St. Thomas will be coming back in a greater way from a logistics point of view. If we can make every battery made in St. Thomas be shipped around the world, but by rail, we're not clogging up our streets with trucks and such. And so, please be safe around trains. Please be safe around trains. There's no give, right?
That's right.
Not a lot.
And nor can they stop quick. Cars can stop quick, and so maybe you get away with it, but not on a railway track.
So Margaret's saying, no, we can't clean it up, and that's correct. You can't clean it up, but they are allegedly going to start on April 1st to do that.
Right. And if you want to use our customerservice.ca, customerservice@stthomas.ca, to report a rail yard that you think is overgrown and needs work, please do that for us now. We'll pass it on to CN or to CP or to whoever's it is, and we can take a look at it.
Very good. Well, that's all the time we have, folks.
Gee, it goes so fast.
It does.
Right.
So, Jim, thank you so much for coming and sharing.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for letting us attend here.
Well, and if you have anything you ever want us to share with the world,
Okay.
well, at least St. Thomas, give us a call and let us know.
We certainly
We'd be
will.
happy
Thank you very much.
And can we just say thank you to you, to Harvest Stands, to the work you do, and so you 109 volunteers.
109, yes.
So that's 218 Harvest Hands.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Showing my math skills there. Real quick.
All right, well, thanks to all of our viewers. Mayor Joe, thanks for participating,
Yes.
as always. And thanks to our sponsors. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah.